Chicago, like most big cities, has its fair share of unsolved crime. And in most of these cases, somebody saw or heard something. Somebody may have seen a suspicious person, a car driving away from the scene, or simply overheard somebody talking about the case. With your help, we can put these criminals behind bars where they belong. Here in Chicago, we have too many unsolved murders. We need your help. In these cases, the police department is only as strong as the citizens that get involved. Oftentimes, all the detectives need is a tip, a start. Somebody to call in and say, I saw something. Any little information that you know can be the impetus to solve the entire case. On tonight's episode, we'll take a look at the case of Bradley Olsen. On January 19th, 2007, Bradley Olsen, a loving son and father of one, went with some friends to a local DeKalb bar. After some time, his friends wanted to leave, but Bradley wanted to stay, and he said he would get a ride home later. Bradley hasn't been seen since. Here's his story.
I'm the mother of Bradley Olsen. He was actually born 2 days before Easter of that year, April 4th, 1980, and he would be 34 years old now. Brad was a fun-loving guy. If there was fun to be had, Brad was there. He loved water sports, he loved skiing, wave running, boating. He also enjoyed sports as a younger man all through school, baseball, soccer, and football was his favorite. A little bit of wrestling. And smile all the time. I had a teacher one time say to me, your son just smiles all the time. And I said, well, don't you think that's good? And she goes, well. I said, well, you won't want him crying. He was a typical boy, real rambunctious. My husband has a very large family, so he had a lot of cousins. Actually, there was 5 cousins that were born the same year he was. 4 of them were boys. So they always had, if it wasn't a friend, it was a cousin. And they were just always busy, keeping very active. He has an older brother that was over 4 years older than him. Their relationship was pretty good. It was typical brother. When he was little, it was the toughest. He was always real meticulous about all of his things and everything, and he didn't want his younger brother, to touch anything, because he would always fear that he was going to ruin something or whatever. But he pretty much looked up to his older brother. Brad also had a young daughter that he absolutely loved. The smile is verbatim, and they got the little dimple on the side. Brad was very close with his daughter. He was not married to the mother of his daughter, but they were still together at the time, and he took care of all of his fatherly responsibilities. Absolutely loved her.
January 20th, 2007, Brad Olsen went missing from Bar 1 in DeKalb, Illinois at approximately 2 to 2:30 in the morning. Brad was at the bar that night with a couple of friends who ended up leaving the bar earlier that night. Brad knew some people at the bar and was friends and acquaintances with several different people, so he ended up staying at the bar. Later on that night, once the bar closed, about 2 o'clock, he was trying to find a ride to leave. Brad was unable to find a ride from those acquaintances and was seeking to find a ride, and that was the last Brad was ever seen or heard from.
My husband and I were out of town, actually, when Brad disappeared. When we came home, Brad wasn't there. We arrived home on a Wednesday, which would have been about 4 days after he went missing. But we arrived home at a time of the day where I thought, well, it was earlier in the evening. I thought maybe he had gone out with someone or whatever. And Brad always We always knew where Brad was. He was never one to go somewhere and not call and say, well, Mom, I'm over here, or whatever. He just always knew, I always knew where he was. After a couple days went by, and I had called every friend. I've always been a detective, even when my kids were little. I had everybody's phone number in my little black book. I called everybody. And there had been messages on the phone for him from friends looking for him, or say, Brad, call me, you know, just said, Brad, call me, you know, whatever. So after 2 days went by, I knew that there was something definitely wrong. And so we called the police and initially started the paperwork for the report of him missing.
Have you been in an accident? Have you been the victim of discrimination or had your rights violated? Have you been injured? If so, the lawyers at Hale Law would love to talk to you. We offer a free consultation. Call me, Andy Hale, 312-870-6926. 312-870-6926. I look forward to talking with you about your case.
On January 20th, 2007, we were notified by Brad Olsen's family that he was missing, and the investigation determined that he was last seen at approximately 2 to 2:30 in the morning at a bar called Bar 1 in DeKalb on January 20th of 2007. The initial missing person report was made when his family returned from vacation on January 31st, 2007, and shortly after that, the DeKalb County Major Case Squad was activated and began investigating the case. Through the investigation, we've conducted numerous ground searches. We've done searches of a couple of ponds that were in the area, and even a Kishwaukee River that was nearby. And as of now, the searchers haven't been able to determine his whereabouts.
It'll be 8 years in January that Brad will be missing. The DeKalb Police Department has been very wonderful. Initially, I talked with them almost every day at the very beginning. Then we would talk about every week, and we still do often talk on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. We keep our channels open with each other.
Well, the family's been real supportive of the investigation. Mrs. Olsen has really kept this investigation in the media's attention, in the community's attention. You still can't go around DeKalb without seeing some sort of missing person flyer for Brad.
I've always been a person that if you want something done, do it yourself. Never really ever really rely on somebody. If you're determined to do something and you want it done your way, then go out and do it. So that's what I've always done, because I've been out there even many times since our initial larger searches in the first year and so forth. We've been out so many times, either by ourselves on foot, a lot of time with canine group. I'm just the person that has to be out there and doing what I believe in and trying to, get some kind of closure or answers for my family or anybody else's family that's in the same position.
This case has really been in the community's attention for a long time because incidents like this don't happen in DeKalb very often. We still consider this an active investigation. It's not gone cold at all in our minds, and we still actively pursue leads every day.
We have a very large family, and it's involved everybody drastically, plus the fact that we have his daughter. She is very wondering what really has happened to her dad, now getting a little bit older. I still have parents that are getting to be rather elderly, and it's affected them greatly. If you know anything about Brad's case, please feel free to call the DeKalb Police Department. It can be kept private, secret. It's very important, more than anything, that we find his remains. There is still a reward. There will always be a reward. So please feel it in your heart to report whatever you know, and no tip is too small.
Brad's been missing for over 7 years now, and the community still wants to find out what happened. So if anybody does have information that could lead us to find out what happened to Brad Olsen on the night of January 20th, please contact the DeKalb Police Department at 815-748-8400 and ask for Sergeant Steve Lakis with the Investigations Division. Any small tip, any phone call could be the right information that could help us put the pieces together about what happened to Brad.
I always felt that we're searching for everybody. If we found one person, it would have been a good day.
The cases you just watched remain unsolved, and we need your help. If you have any information on tonight's episode or any other cases, please give our detectives a call. We need our communities to come together so we can take back our streets and make our neighborhoods a safer place.